We're a chemical manufacturer. We deal with lots of things that are flammable and highly flammable.
I've done about 6 first aid courses and I've been using the AED every time and didn't think I'd ever have to use it in real life.
I would consider myself lucky if there was one nearby because I know I've got a better chance of helping that person.
Well, I've been a first aider for 9 years, I think. But did I ever think that I would actually use one? No.
I had a call come through saying there's a first aid incident. You don't know what you're going to run into, do you?
Another department manager, so he came in and said that there was someone collapsed on the floor, and myself and Dan were both first aid trained.
And at first he said that a lorry driver had fallen over. I just wanted to get out there and see what was going on and see if I could help, really. That was pretty much it.
One of the drivers saw him first go down and then put him in the recovery position.
Our shift manager actually made the call on that occasion, all of the dealings with the emergency call handler.
We could see what the situation was in front of us, and I suppose really you just got to focus on following what you taught in your first aid courses.
Mark arrived first, I believe, and Ricky was close behind him. It felt like I was ages behind because I had to go and get the defibrillator, but I think in reality it was like 20 or 30 seconds, it wasn't a long time. So then when I arrived with the defibrillator and it was quite clear that the guy wasn't breathing, I just started unpacking it and thought, well, you know, he's unconscious on the ground, we'll just put the defibrillator on. Whether it needs to shock him or not, it doesn't really matter because we know it's all automated, it'll analyse his heart rhythm and it's up to the machine whether it shocks him or not.
I'd say when we first got there to the time the AED was back to him, that was probably about a minute, really quickly.
The AED was actually really easy to use. The instructions are very clear. It wasn't a mad panic, but it was a stressful situation. The instructions were fairly straightforward. Everything was there ready.
It really hit home how serious it was.
It's a big confidence booster when you've got other people that are first aid trained as well. You know, you can feedback off each other and you can help each other try and get through the situation, do the best you can to help that person.
While the AED was actually analysing, it felt like the whole area went silent, like almost like time stood still, and you're just sort of listening to it, analysing. And the first time that it analysed him, it actually said no shock advised. And then when we carried on compressions and the CPR, the next time it analysed, it actually said shock advised, and then sort of shocked him and restarted his heart. Yeah, it was strange, very strange.
So the driver started making some gurgling noises, funny noises. I think from our first aid training, they called it agonal breathing, but we weren't really sure what that was, whether he was actually breathing by himself or not, but so we carried on with the CPR. But it felt like a big relief when he started, you know, making signs of life, if you like.
We performed one shock, and then we performed 2 more lots of CPR with 2 more lots of shocks.
And it did continue to do it. I think sort of went through 4 analysis cycles, which are like a minute and a half of CPR and then analysing and then shock. And yeah, went through all of that before the ambulance actually turned up.
A while later, the air ambulance arrived as well to take over.
You're in the zone and you want to help someone, so yeah, wasn't scared. Afterwards, very emotional.
Afterwards was more of a challenge emotionally. Yeah.
You're not really thinking about what's going on, you're just getting on with the job that you have to do. I suppose it wasn't until afterwards that we sort of thought, you know, it's like actually decompressed and took in what had actually happened. Yeah.
We had a good outcome, so the debrief happened and everyone talked together how things went, and we really couldn't find anything that went wrong.
It does give you a bit more confidence if something like that happened again, because you know a bit more what to expect. The people that I had around me, the other first aiders, the other members of the team that day were brilliant, and they made it so much better for all of us. So that helps build confidence, knowing that when there is an emergency, people know what they're doing. Everyone should have the opportunity to be able to be trained on CPR. If a person's not breathing, you can't make things any worse, so there's no harm in trying. And also AEDs, I think it's important because of the chances of survival are much higher with an AED.
You might feel like, oh, I'd never need to do that, but you never know what you might come across day to day, and you know, you might just be able to help someone. I think if we hadn't had the AED, we would have continued with the CPR, but whether it would have made a difference to his life, I really don't know. I can't remember what the actual statistics are, but the chance of you saving somebody's life purely through CPR is very low, but it increases massively if you have an AED available as well.
Definitely think there should be more AEDs available. You could save someone's life.
I'm just glad that the person got to go home and be with his family.
Yeah, it was really great getting to see him when he came down to visit us all. He brought us all a gift, and yeah, it was really nice. We definitely got a bit teary. We welled up a bit, and it feels good to have been able to do that.